Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It's a beautiful day, middle of the week, and it also happens to be my birthday. So I'm very thankful. I'm happy that I can celebrate another year in my life. I'm thankful to God for my beautiful wife, for my great children and amazing grandchildren, and my family. I love my family, and it's just a treat to be able to celebrate with them as I continue this journey called life. And this is in the raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. We are in the middle of Psalms 23. We've been talking about a verse every day, and today we are going to read verse 4 and make a couple comments about it. So here we go. Verse 4 says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And so there's a lot here to digest. There's a lot to talk about. And he starts talking about walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And, this is the first dark note in a beautiful psalm that David writes. Previously David wrote about green pastures and still waters and paths of righteousness. But now he talks about walking through the valley of the shadow of death. And so, David talks about this. He uses this analogy to talk about how in our lives we sometimes walk through valleys. And I'm sure that you've walked through some valleys, because we all do. We all walk through valleys in our lives, whether it be we're dealing with a disease, our health is threatened and we're walking through a valley, or whether we are going through issues with our relationships, and we're walking through a valley because relationships are broken or are in danger, or maybe we're going through financial trouble, and that's another valley that we've sometimes walked through. And so, in life, we are walking through those low points. A valley is a low point. It's surrounded by mountains, and it's a low point. It's a point where, sometimes we can't find our way out. And David is saying, we walk through the valley of shadow of death. And so he's giving this valley a name, the shadow of death, valley of shadow of death. And, it's not that we are in death, but we are shadowed by death. We are shadowed by this sense of death. And, like I said, sometimes we're going through a sickness in life. Our health is threatened and we feel that we might die. So that could be the shadow of death. Or sometimes, we're going through emotional issues, whether it's because of a relationship that's been broken, or maybe it's been withered, or we're going through financial issues and we feel that there's no sense in living, so we're going through a shadow of death. So, we've been, many of us have been through things like that. But he's saying, even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, he's talking about us walking through it. And, we're not stationary there. We're not staying there. We're walking through the valley of shadow of death. And we need to understand that, because, it's different from saying I'm there. I'm going to stay there. I'm never going to leave this valley. We're not doing that. We're walking through it. And, it's part of life. We walk through issues. We walk through low points. And this reminds me of what the great statesman, I believe it was Winston Churchill, he once said, if you're going through hell, keep going. We don't stay there. It's not our place to stay. We walk through there because it's inevitable. It's inevitable. We have to walk through there. Sometimes we have to go through things like that. But then he continues to say, David, he continues to say, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me. So, evil is something that can take us, overpower us. But here he's telling us, do not fear. Do not fear. You're going through stuff, you're going through issues, but don't fear. And did you know that the Bible mentions do not fear 365 times? And that translates to once every day of the year, we are reminded not to fear, because it's easy to fall into fear, to give in to fear. It's so easy to say, oh, I'm afraid of this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go through this because I am afraid. And it's fear is something that's part of our nature. But we also have that assurance that we don't have to fear, that we can overcome our fear, right? We can overcome our fear because he is with us. And we are reminded that every day of the year. And so when he is with us, David says, you are with me. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. That means that we're not alone when we're going through stuff. We're not alone when we are going through issues in our lives. God is with us. Jesus is walking through the shadow with us. We're not alone. And so that is a great assurance that we have. And then this verse ends by saying, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So he is with us, and he's got something that will help us, his rod and his staff. And now there's debate here. There's been debate by scholars. Is it one instrument or two instruments? Is it one instrument that's been described with these two words, or is it two instruments? And to me, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that he's got an instrument. He's got something that will help us. And it's more than an instrument, although David is using the analogy of a shepherd, but it's more than just an instrument. It's not necessarily something physical that God has or that Jesus has. It's what they do. And the rod and the staff had two functions. One function was to guide the sheep, to show them the way. And so he uses that to show us the way. He said, come this way. This is the way you need to go to get out of the valley. This is the way you need to go to go to green pastures, to go to still waters. This is the path of righteousness. He shows us the way. He guides us. And then the other function is that it defends. The shepherd would use the rod and the staff to defend the sheep, the herd, from any attack from predators. And so Jesus also defends us from any attacks that the enemy will launch against us. So he guides us, and he also defends us. He guides us through our life and which ways we need to go. If we acknowledge him as our shepherd, and as the beginning of the psalm says, if we acknowledge him, he will guide us, but he will also defend us. He will also fend off any attacks that the enemy will launch against us if we trust in him. So that's what this means, and beautiful assurance for us. And so, yeah, I will continue talking about this in the next time. We will continue breaking it up and seeing what this really means to us. All right. Well, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'm off to celebrate my birthday. Talk to you soon.